Carlton getting it done by 8 points over Geelong, who start the season 0-2. It's a very good morning if you're just tuning into Fireball Friday. Grant Thomas, the Friday Agenda, Martin Pike, and your calls if you want to join in whenever you like. David King is alongside of me. Kingy, great game of footy.
Awesome game of footy. I love it when the big boys flex their muscle. The best part for me last night was just seeing key post forwards take control of AFL games. We've talked a lot about last week's game. Did Carlton really bring their best? Did they play to defeat Richmond or to engage in Richmond's plan? Last night they said, let's just get it to the big boys as quickly as we can. Targeted 9 times between them last week, 21 times this week. That's the gap in the game. Mackay, 10 targets, Charlie 11. And it wasn't that they had to mark everything. Like, Harry didn't have a great night in terms of marking the footy. But, gee, he crashes the pack and he brings it to ground. And all of a sudden the reference points for these smalls, who are no-name smalls, really.
Yeah.
They're just there to put pressure on and take an opportunity.
I reckon Motlop's going to be a name.
He's going to be, he's building, isn't he?
Not yet, but there's some signs that he's got some elite attributes. So you're right. He's endured, not names yet. Motlop in his first year. Bits and pieces last night. You're required to do a lot of that defensive stuff, but I got huge raps on Jesse Motlop. But you continue. There's some of their pressure and their smothering last night was terrific, those three.
So how do you get that, Cornesy? So this is the discussion, right? How do you get the forward half pressure game? So they managed to turn the ball over 23 times in their forward half for 8 goals, 5. That's the game. So when you kick to a predictable area, your smalls get to the front. If they don't crumb it, they force the opposition to panic, into turnover, and the game stays at your end. Geelong end up having 20. So it's the opposite effect at the other end. And for some reason, they haven't got any forward pressure at the moment. In the last quarter, they had 9 forward half intercepts, right? Which is what we're talking about. But prior to that, for the first 3 quarters, they had 11. For 3 quarters of footy. So
that's their strength last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, their game's in a little bit of... It's a real question mark, regardless of how you want to look at whether they're injured or slow or just struggling to get rolling. There are some warts at the moment.
There are. Chris Scott spoke after the game, said not concerned, they're not panicking. And look, for Geelong, their draw opens up significantly. I mean, they have a 10-day break and the next 3 are really winnable for them. So next week it's the Suns. I think then it's Hawthorn. Then it's West Coast in the next 3. So they'll get some key players back. Kolajasny next week. Tom Stewart in 3 weeks. Mitch Duncan hasn't played yet. They spoke about missing him. So the only concern I would be is it looked like they had cement boots on from at times last night. Where's the zip and the power gone from the midfield? Now perhaps that's a slower start and a lack of preparation, but Dangerfield's lost that zip. Atkins isn't the player that he was during the final series last year. Guthrie was forced to move to half-back and his ball use was poor last night, albeit Chris Scott raved about his last quarter where he had 12 touches. So that would be the only thing for me. We say it every year about the age and the youth that they've brought in are finding their feet. Tanner Bruin, I think, is going to be a good player, but not impacting like they would have hoped just yet. Bose is the same. So that's my only query on the Cats last night.
The question, so if they are heavy in the legs and they're off a little bit, they're a bit fumbly, a bit scrappy, just trying to find their feet, where don't you want to go and play at 2:10 in the afternoon next week? You don't want to go to the Gold Coast Suns and suffer the heat and the humidity up there.
You think they're vulnerable?
I'm serious.
You think they're vulnerable?
I do. I think it's a banana peel game for sure. I mean, this is...
That'd be a story.
Well, mate, you can't be going 0-3. You just can't be. So it's an opportunity... to rectify their season. I get all that. Is Jeremy Cameron going to be able to play better than that?
No.
That was some sort of game, wasn't it?
So I've just got it written down. Can he win the Brownlow? I'm hoping that the umpires for the first time are going to start to recognise players that don't play in the midfield. And he was equal 8th in the Brownlow last year. So he was the only non-midfielder to finish in the top 10 of the Brownlow with 19 votes, 10 behind Patrick Cripps, who won it. He gets 3 last night. I couldn't believe the amount of ground he was covering. 25 disposals.
He won't get 3 last night. They won't.
He'll have to get 3.
They won't.
He'll have to get 3 last night.
Losing team.
He has to.
Charlie will get more votes than him than last night.
Who will get the 10 coaches' votes?
Yeah, the coaches' votes. Are they in line with the Brownlow normally?
No, well, not really. But I think they're more accurate.
I'm with you. I thought he was the best player in the comp last year. You get laughed at when you say these things, but his kicking is different. Have you ever seen a player snap the ball with such ferocity from a set shot and have it it bends through the middle every time?
Yeah.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
So Tony Lockett was the last forward to win a Brownlow in 1987. I'm going to say Jeremy Cameron is capable, provided that the umpires recognise players that don't play in the midfield this year, and hopefully they do. Chris Scott spoke after the game. He said there's no point comparing where they were at 12 months ago.
I don't really think there's much merit in sort of going back 12 months ago, because we were different then, and we knew we'd been deliberately different. I get that negative momentum can kind of throw you off the rails a little bit, but we're miles away from that. So I thought we were a work in progress midway, 3/4 of the way through last year as well.
There you go, Chris
I
Scott.
want to ask Geelong supporters, those that watch them closely, not to do a debate or anything, just those that watch them closely, are they concerned? Because they did look alarmingly lethargic last night. And I know that Tom Hawkins has had a limited prep and he's only done a few weeks of training, but he's now going to play, recover. It's going to be difficult to build a base now. That's my concern.
He looked awful last night, and he had that cork in the calf. I watched him at training during the week, just on the news. I thought there's no way he plays. Like he could hardly run. But once again, I'm not going to write off Geelong, because I've done it so many times, and all you do is you get made to look foolish. And they're still a very good side. They're going to get the reinforcements back. But I guess the story is Carlton. I mean, the way that they were able to adjust this week, and their ball movement was so slow, which was a real mistake considering the outs that Richmond had last week, and we discussed that this time last week. But they started to move the footy. They took some risks with it. They hit the angle kick inside, and as you pointed out, they were able to isolate an undersized Geelong defence, and you get the rewards for it. 1300 736 736, and it was good to see their brutal midfield performance back.
Is Adam Saad their most important player? So I'll rephrase that. To the way they want to play. Now, the big boys are clearly their best options. Mackay and Curnow are next level, and structural players hold a greater weighting. I understand that. But with their ball movement, when he gets the footy, it's either going corridor or it's going into chaos, and something will happen. Sometimes it's bad, but more often than not, it's seriously good.
Yeah. And, if Akers going back there was important. I mean, he has a few heart and mouth moments as well. But he got them going a little bit. But I love the brutality of their midfield. So Kennedy's a gun. I mean, some of his stuff last night. So it was a finals-like game to me. You would feel like if Carlton are now in the position in a big final, that is the blueprint on how to play and how to win a final. 1300 736 736. We'll go to our callers very, very shortly. I'm far from a Geelong supporter, but this talk, Kingy, that anyone needs to be concerned that they're off their game is crazy. They won a grand final, had a shorter pre-season, and only lost by 1 goal from an impressive Carlton performance.
I'll pay that they had a shorter pre-season on Carlton, but there was 1 week gap between Collingwood and Geelong. 1 week. So I don't pay that for last week. And as I said last week, Collingwood put 125 points on them. That hasn't happened for 5 years.
Yeah.
So we're looking for chinks, and maybe we're going too hard, but it always starts somewhere. So is this the start? Who knows? I wonder whether Dangerfield is carrying something. If he is, these next 3 weeks are critical. You're right with Atkins. He didn't look the same player last night. He didn't look to have that energy in the
and last week
cover
too.
the ground.
Yeah, it was the same last week. So how do they get some speed and a bit quicker ball movement through that midfield? But let us know.
Deep enough. So the 27th, 28th, 29th player that comes in, are they capable of mixing it?
Well, that was the thought behind what they did in the trade. So I don't think they lost Selwood. And they've added 3 good players. And Radaglia hardly played last year. Holmes didn't play in the grand final. So, I think they do bat deep enough. But when you lose 5 or 6 straight up, that is highlighted for any team. So, look.
Thought Bose was good late.
Yeah, Chris Chris Scott, that is, was happy with his performance across half-back, missed that shocker late that would have, really kept them in touch with that.
Do we overlook how good Ed Curnow was in the last quarter?
I was going to say, I had him written down in my notes because I've always admired him as a player, and us taggers stick together. You know that, don't you?
He was more than this one for close checking, right? So last night, centre bounce, he was about to be tackled if he took possession, so he tapped the ball to Chera. It was brilliant play, and it's only something that an elderly citizen can do. The guys have been around the game for a long time. They understand the situation and the timings. His 10 disposal last term was significant.
Yep, kicked a goal as well, and the connection that he had with his brother was significant as well. And didn't play last year, so to have him back when I thought they may have moved on from him, they clearly know their players better than us. He's a rookie, I reckon. I'm not sure how you can be a rookie.
Yeah,
not sure how you can be a rookie at his age. No. That rule has to change. I'm going to start first, Kingy, because you had some strong thoughts, as did a few people on Nat Fyfe's performance in round one and the way that he should be best utilised moving forward. His coach is Justin Longmuir. He hit back at that criticism yesterday.
It's incredibly unfair that he comes under the spotlight the way he does, and I know he's set a high standard over the years, and with that comes a bit more pressure and expectation. I heard a lot of talk after the pre-season games. He's going to kick 50-plus goals and win the Coleman, and then after one game he gets criticised as the worst experiment of all time. So, we won't be shifting him anytime soon.
Don't know if the criticism was directed at Nat per se, but the use of Nat, don't you think?
Well, I don't know who said he was going to kick 50 goals.
Did
you say that?
I did see someone said. We'll track.
Well, that's ridiculous.
We'll track that down.
So, my criticism is not of Nathan; it's of Justin. You've got the game's biggest contested beast of the last decade standing at full forward when you're playing St Kilda, and just watching your team die a slow death in the midfield, and you don't put him on ball. So you tell me that's maximising an asset. You tell me that's elite level coaching. It's not. You're leaving Nathan Fyfe forward of centre where he was having a poor day. He was failing down there. So my criticism's not for Nathan Fyfe. I don't think he's a forward. I don't think it's going to work. But that's just an opinion. He's in the seat. He can play his players where he wants to play them. But you lost to St Kilda. If they lose to the Kangaroos playing that same brand of football they played last week, then you will start to question: is it the plan? Is it the motivation? Is he maximising the pieces in terms of the players and where they're playing? The heat will be on Justin. That's my point. He can do what he wants with his players, but if it doesn't work, don't be surprised if we give you critical analysis.
Are they stubborn coaches? Like, is he more likely to say, "No, I'm just going to leave him there"? Now it's got that feel about him, which I think would be a mistake. I think you've got to have all the options up your sleeve, and one of those has to be putting Nathan Fyfe on ball when he needs to. But you reckon he's going to be stubborn with this and leave him?
Yeah, I do. I think he's going to. I mean, playing the Kangaroos is a chance to kick goals, but is it going? Would it be a false read? Would it be a false dawn? I don't know. But my view is not really on all that stuff. What's the reason that your football club are going to win big games? We've just seen Carlton show us why. The two big beasts forward of centre. They've got a midfield that step out of stoppage when they're on. Okay, they're down some manpower at the moment. That's the reason. What's the reason Fremantle could win the flag this year?
Well, it would be their defense. It would be their defence, which is strong. I love their back six, but during the week I said they're like a team with an NFL team with a great defence and no quarterback. Like they don't look threatening at all. The recruitment of Luke Jackson, he's not a forward. He's never been a forward. I don't think he'll ever be a forward. And the thought that you were going to recruit him in to work with Sean Darcy and play him as a 60-70% forward isn't going to happen. He can't mark the ball. He does not mark the ball. He averages 2 marks a game throughout his career and 0.5 of a goal. And then the flow-on effect that has to Darcy. He's going, well, I'm not a forward either. What do you want me to do?
Has there been a less threatening forward line in the competition for 5-10 years?
Well, that's the thing. Since Matthew Pavlich, they've never been able to replace Pav. They tried to help Pav out, and they've targeted every forward from Jesse Hogan to Travis Cloak over the journey was McCarthy, wasn't it, from the Giants? Like they cannot get a solution to the forward line, and I'm telling you, Luke Jackson isn't going to be that solution.
Can we just have a listen to? There was a question after the game last week, and I just found this answer really interesting.
Bit of both. I don't mind us chipping the ball around, so but there's got to be some method to it. And I thought we just went lateral to occupy the ball, and that's not really how we want to play. So we need to get the balance right between making the opposition defend and not having enough dare.
So how do you chip the ball around and have dare? I'm confused by that. 136 marks. If that's not the plan, well, you want to see a significant shift in the next 2 weeks.
Yep, they're a close watch, I reckon, Fremantle. A really close watch. Have you got some concerns about Adam Treloar?
I have. He's 30 years of age. He had a very, very limited pre-season. They're protective of this guy, I understand. All the conversation around him, whenever he has a hamstring or a calf, is they always water it down at the start. We think it's just a little bit tight. There's awareness there. I think we just think it's a cramp. And then all of a sudden he starts missing footy. So he missed 9 games in 2020, 9 games in 2021. He only missed 1 game last year, and I think he finished 8th in their best and fairest. I'm just concerned that we've seen the best of Adam Treloar as a midfielder. They're now starting to put him into other roles over the last couple of years. So if he's not to be the midfielder that the Dogs need him to be, they've already moved on with Hunter. They've already moved on with Dunkley. Yep. Where to then? Yeah,
they actually need him as a midfielder this year with the players that they've lost. Still got this year plus 2 more years on that massive deal that I think Collingwood are still paying some of it for, so that they're going to have to find a way because 2 3/4 seasons is a long time, or 3 seasons essentially left on that contract. Terrific finisher. I do like when he's got the ball running inside 50, but that would be a watch as well, as is their game plan, which has been a watch for a long, long time. Why are they so easy to score against, and how confronting would it be for Luke Beveridge to go, okay, we're 15th in the competition last year from defending from our forward 50, and we've got all summer to work on it, and we turn up round 1 and have Melbourne score 50 points from defensive 50. Now, it's not one game, and you can say, oh, it's only one game. Well, it's not. It's been a long time that this has been an issue for the Western Bulldogs. You've got a summer to work on it, and it fails again in round 1. He's got some queries around his coaching, as I've written about in The Age today, Luke Beveridge, and he's got all the assets but hasn't been able to come up with a blueprint that ultimately gets you success that they need with the squad that they've got.
So we're putting these on the radar, and we'll look at them in the next couple of weeks. So before people say, "Oh, it's only been 1 round,"
well, it hasn't with the Dogs though, and it hasn't been with Treloar.
It's this group. It's a fresh group, isn't it? I mean, you got Liam Jones down. It's a fresh group. It's a different looking back 6, trying to achieve the same thing. But we're just basically saying this is where it is after round 1. Let's see where it is after round 3, because the season slides quickly.
Yep. If you want to put something on the Friday agenda with us, you can. 1300 736 736. Just your comment on Tarryn Thomas and the distraction that it could be at North Melbourne, and whether you've got a feel or any knowledge on whether he plays again, like if you had to lean one way or another, Kingy.
I have no idea. I don't have any information to support any logical opinion, so I prefer to sit out. But in saying that, I would just say that we have. Sometimes you can help people, and sometimes they've got to help themselves as well. I mean, if this is what we think it is, then it'd be incredibly disappointing for the football club to lose someone of that calibre. But that's where we sit, isn't it? That's the reality.
A few queries coming through on the umpiring last night. The first decision against Sam De Koning for that marking contest, and I'm trying to get the player that it was against, was Harry Mackay, wasn't it? 5 minutes into the game in a marking contest.
Oh, yeah.
What are you supposed to do as a defender? And then the other one on Motlop, which was a great tackle. Motlop got low. He's not a tall player, and the arm just brushes up against the shoulder. Like, play on, please. So I don't know. My concern with 4 umpires, they'll be trigger happy because umpires can't just sit there placid. They have to be involved in the game. I feel like they're involved too much, and I've got some sympathy for big defenders who can't seem to do a lot in marking contests anymore.
Yeah. No, it's a valid discussion. Don't touch the umpires, though, mate. They come from everywhere. They come from everywhere to let you give you some
No,
feedback.
I'll 100% touch the umpires if they're not doing the job that they should be doing. You got to call it out. And the 50-metre penalty, just holistically in the game, is it doesn't. You want rules to enhance the game. 50-metre penalties don't do that. And if in doubt, just let the player run through. And if they're getting out of the protected zone, let them run through. And let's not be trigger happy on 50-metre penalties. I think there was 4 last night. 4's too many. 1's too many. Is there anything else you want to put on the radar ahead of round 2?
I want to ask you, because you've been hot on this, are you thrilled with what Essendon have done with Jake Stringer?
In what way?
Well, there's the standard setting, not just rushing him back. He's been medically declared right to play. What are you laughing at?
He was injured, wasn't he? It wasn't.
He was injured.
It wasn't
but
as
he- but
if
he's-
they said, "Jake, you're out of shape. I'm not selecting you until you hit some fitness standards," which is what I wanted to do. So no, I'm not.
That's what
thrilled.
they're saying now, though. That's
Are
what
they?
they're saying now. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He's medically cleared to play.
Okay.
Brad Scott said yesterday at a press conference that he could have selected him this week to play because he's medically right to go. And I think in the past they have selected
So
him
is he
at this
playing
point.
any form of football this weekend? Is there a VFL game on?
100% sure
Okay.
on that. But if he's not, he'd
He'll be
be
training.
Yes. So that's why I thought you would like that.
No, well, I'm if that's the case, and if he's going to
Get some more
play
information.
somewhere, if there's a game on and he's playing in that game, yes, I'll be thrilled with that. I think that is the right thing to do.
Now going to do your research as well.